Welcome back. With me today is Maggie Blackwell from the United Board. She's the board secretary, and she's going to talk about several different things. Welcome, and I should mention that a couple things you're going to be talking about first are what's going to be on part of the agenda coming up on Tuesday of next week.
That's right, that's right. We're restoring the guarantor's policy with restrictions, and that is a policy which we used to have in case the new buyer does not have quite enough financially to purchase the unit. And so this is to restore a guarantor to be sure that they can meet the qualifications for the monthly payments.
Okay.
As it stands now, the new buyer must have $125,000 nest egg, I call it a nest egg, above the price of the unit. And that, we've always had a nest egg of a certain size, and we move it up and down according to the economics and so on. But it is to protect the person for several years from rising prices for us. So if we have to raise assessments, we don't want people that buy in just barely able to make it right now, but in 5 years they won't be able to do it. And then it becomes, as they get closer to when they finally say, I can't do this, I'll have to sell it or go or whatever. So our price is $125,000, and they have to have an income of $40,000 a year, and that is to pay their monthly payments. If they don't have that, they can have a guarantor a guarantor has to have $90,000 and income producing assets of at least $250 plus the unit purchase price. So that guarantor writes a contract with United to pay any outstanding assessments or anything that the member cannot pay. So if all of a sudden somebody can't pay their assessments, if they have a guarantor, we bill that guarantor, and that guarantor has to show to us that they can afford that.
So it's like a cosigner on a loan.
It is kind of like. Now, in the past, guarantors were able to, with less than that, were able to be a guarantor for 10 or even 20 units. But what happens then if the assessments go up and all those people start needing money? The guarantor is not going to be able to pay for all of those. So in United, you can guarantee one United unit and no other unit in the village.
Okay.
Of course, if you already have one, that's established. But for new things, a United guarantor can only guarantor once. And that means that the member's minimum annual income can drop from $40,000 down to $24,000.
Okay.
Which is, they'll just barely make it. $40,000 to $24,000, that's why they need a guarantor.
Okay.
And the income assets of at least $75,000 instead of $125,000. So the combination of the two sources will cover everything for United and will keep the person in the home as long as possible, and so then at some point they decide to have to sell or whatever. But this helps them, gives them a little security. And it helps people get into the village that really would like to be in the village and need to be in the village, but their families or someone else can't necessarily carry their load. So that's 12A on the board's agenda for next week. And that will probably pass because we hadn't passed and we cut them out for a couple of years and now we say no.
Okay.
And then we're going to raise the golf cart charging violation fee. We had a fee for people who were charging their golf carts in the carports without paying. It's $120 a year, and you get a little sticker on your cart, and that means you're legal. And so you can plug in, and that's what it costs United for electricity.
Right.
So we have people who buy the golf cart and they don't get the sticker, and they plug it in, and security doesn't go around and check every golf cart every week or every month. So people slip through, and they don't come in and buy their sticker, and they don't pay the $120 a year. Well, the other fine used to be $50. Well, that's pretty good. You can sneak around for a couple of months and months and months and only pay a $50 fine, and that's it. So we decided we better bump it up, and the requirement now is $100 for the fine, and at the same time you have a couple of weeks just to pay the $120 for the year. So this is to get people who are sliding around. You know, it was $50 was not enough. It was a deal to pay your $50 and chance it, you know, and that's what they were doing. So we don't like that. Then we had a very big conversation about roommates in, yes, here we go. Roommates in the last meeting. Because several people have said you need to have roommates to help people who, say, don't have a guarantor or whatever, to help people make the payments. And roommates superficially are a very good idea, but for senior citizens, for elders who are not strong and not well and not able to protect themselves, it can be a very dangerous situation. It's so easy for them to be victimized. It is, I mean, they sign up to have someone come in and they make a little contract or something, and the person comes in, rents the room, and then starts stealing their stuff. Well, what's their recourse? You know, they're going to call security and say, my roommate is stealing my stuff, get him out of here. Well, we don't have the right to get him out of it.
Right.
See, so it was a very tough call. Social services, we asked for a pros and cons on that issue, because superficially, again, it sounds like a great idea, and it would be on the outside if you weren't a senior or if you had family members who could help you out. But the pros are it helps to subsidize income for the residents. And that's a good thing. Sometimes it just provides also socialization, which they might like, you know, if they're not well or strong. And it provides extra safety. For that reason, if you fall inside the unit, there's another person there to find you. So those are three very good features about a roommate possibility. But the cons, Tim Moy wrote a list of cons. There's potential abuse and difficulty evicting. Parking is a big concern. Renters are not invested in the community. You know, they're not likely to take care of things the way the members do. Clutter violations, animal nuisances if they bring their animal, neighborhood disputes, nuisance violations, and increased theft, and increased illegal occupancy. The difficulty with the roommate is that it wouldn't be a contract with United, because it would be a contract with the resident. And so United can't step in and help, and United can't take the person to court if they're stealing your stuff and selling things, or they're damaging your unit. You know, what is your recourse as the resident? And 85, 90-year-old people want the company and they like the income, but they can't handle all the legal issues. And if you might, people can be very nice when they want to be your roommate, and then all of a sudden the blinders come off when they're in there. And you just have no protection against them. So we said, no, this is not good for us. Our attorney said, if we're going to do this, we have to have a background check, and we have to have all kinds of things, and it began to become very cumbersome. We'd have to do some checking, frequent checking, to be sure our people were protected from their own roommate. And this was just too much. And
so there's Is this ongoing, or is it just done for now,
well,
or what?
we had it discussed shortly on one meeting, and then we had a very long meeting about it, and we heard the two sides, and the attorney said it's going to be very complex for you because of all the legal issues.
Right.
So what happens if the roommate gets sick or needs help or whatever, and whose responsibility is that to care for them and take care of them? It isn't ours, and it would be maybe the residents, maybe not. It's just very awkward. It's a very awkward fit for us. So we had several people with us at the meeting, and after we went through and Tim talked and Mary talked, and I read Jeff Beaumont's ideas against it. Mary Stone talked and listed all the bad things, and the vote was our vote. The committee voted it down. We said, this is just too complex, too hard for us. We cannot protect anyone from someone they might have living there. You know.
All right.
And then for future discussions, we're still talking about election issues. We have a new election company now. I don't know their name, but we just decided. And so all our old election procedures may need to be modified for whatever they think is good. Now we have certain rules. By law, we have to announce it and send the ballots out.
Now, let me ask, why is there a different election company? Is that for everyone or just United?
Well, Chapman retired.
Oh,
and he was the company, and so
I didn't realize
retired,
that.
And so he's off in the sunset. I don't know where he's living.
Got it.
I don't even know if he's living here, but
I didn't realize that.
But so that just sunset, and so we had to find a new company because we have an election coming up, you know. And so we discussed our election rules and went over them briefly, but we can't really say yes or no what we're going to do until he says, well, I need their statements by this time, and I need this in order to print the ballot by this time, and it's going to cost you this much per ballot, and so on and so on and so on. And so we have that. And then we're continuing to discuss the canvassing and the flyers policy. And we fine-tuned ours. Fortunately, ours, as I say, still comport with the law, but we are making a little more protections. It basically is the flyers have to have an identification at the bottom of who is supporting this. And it has to be delivered in a way that won't become litter all over United. And so we've got the rules about you have to put it under the floor mat a little bit or put it somewhere, and you can't enter a closed gate and things like that. And also people, according to the new law, can come and knock on your door and talk to you. So if they do that, then we say some people cannot be disturbed, you know, really. So if they have a do not disturb sign, you have to honor that. But otherwise, it's free speech for the candidates and for the cause. And that's what the bill was passed, to provide free speech. And so we're allowing free speech, but within limitations, just to help keep the village tidy and not scare the residents. So we're saying they can come and knock on the door between 10 and 7 so that people who are working have a chance to get home, and they can reach those people. So that's very exciting. And we have a policy for allowing approval of more lenders, and that's lenders. They say we only have really NCB who lends to us. There is another company who expressed an interest, and they're active in this state and Arizona, I guess, or Colorado. I think it's Arizona, but they don't have the accreditation and things. They don't have the longevity in the industry where we can say, yeah, this is a sure company. So it won't do us any good if the company goes out of business and they're the lender for these people. That gets very complex. But so we will see. And they have to agree that we have the first claim right if the unit must be sold due to arrears and things like that. Most companies don't want us to have the first right, but after all, the place is here. So we get the first right, and if they agree to do that, that's why we're interested in that one company, because they would agree to that. But they are a fairly new company, though they're doing quite well right now.
Okay.
So we'll have to check that out. And another thought I had just came up because if you don't have an RF, this is totally different. If you don't have your RFID sticker on your car, you are a persona non grata. You are a visitor.
Right.
I was driving into Gate 2, which is the new Arms now. So I was driving into Gate 2 yesterday, and a green, I was coming from the left turn lane, and a green truck came from the right lane. And he had a choice of the visitor's lane, which has 2 cars in it, and the residence lane, which had only 1 car in it. So he went into the residence lane, and then he got to the arm, and it did not raise. Now the guard, the gate guard, was dealing with the people in the visitors lane, of course, and checking their ID. And this guy was he just waved, and the guard had to yell at him, no, get in the other lane. So I backed way up. I gave him 2 or 3 car lengths so he could get there. And he didn't want to do that. He just wanted them to give him he was just waving his hand out there, and I thought, is he running? What's he got? You know,
so
you could have a Starbucks card in your hand, you know. Who knows what he's got in his hand? And he was just yelling, and then pretty soon there were 3 or 4 visitors that needed help. So the gate guard finally lifted the gate. So I took his number down and checked it with Tim, and Tim said, no, it's a resident who has not gotten their RFID.
Right.
Well, we've had RFID issues for 3 years now, for Pete's sake. Spend your $25, get your RFID, and go legally through the gate.
Right.
He did an illegal gate entry from there. And so don't do that. Get your $25, get the sticker on your car, and be fine.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
Yeah. All right, very good. Thank you for the update.
Okay.
And we'll have the United meeting next Tuesday that we broadcast here. So thank you very much, Maggie.
Right.
Take
Thank
care of
you.
yourself.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. We'll be right back.